Hello again, dear world. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. For me, it's 2 o'clock at the moment when I take this interview. And for my guest, Marya, it's, what is it, 7-ish?
8:16 p.m. in Bali.
Okay, 16 p.m. Okay, 4 o'clock afternoon. Okay, close to getting relaxed. It's still summer, so we still have a lot of light and warmth. So welcome, Marya, for the second interview. We had one about a year ago on the Shirach Show, more spiritually and all these things. And
this time we were talking about trauma.
Yeah, trauma and all the other things you do. And I don't want to say too much. We make, of course, a link to that interview and YouTube video when it's uploaded. And now today we talk more about depression and your journey of depression. What is depression? How do you look at it? Traumas. What can people do if they feel low in energy, depressed, and all these feelings? And so you get some activities, some actions, right, and techniques. So welcome. So who are you, just in short, so people know who we have on the other side and why we should listen to you? What are you doing?
I am a human like you, have overcome on depression. No, really, this is really the highlight of the conversation. I'm someone who was so much in a deep depression, and then I never thought that I could made up, like, I could help myself. I thought everything was already crumbled, and collapse, and and then I made it, just when I start to change my surrounding. So I'm Marya Umar. I am a trauma practitioner. I am deepening in trauma. My specialty is intergenerational trauma. So I am here. It's it's my honor to be with you, to share my journey, and I'd love also to learn from you. I know there are so many of us out there who are feeling hopeless, feeling alone, secluded because of hey, we are not alone, feeling like this. Most of the times we think like we are alone. Most of the times, like, the problem that we have is the worst problem in the world. And people could even understand a little bit of the pain that we have. And I would like to say, if you're experiencing that, it's normal. You're not alone. And there's a way to get out from that. Most of the time, it's not people that we think should help us, and we don't get help from them because, to be honest, they don't even have any idea about the wounds that they have, and they couldn't even help themselves, and they don't even know where or who to reach out. That's why, like, it's like a domino effect. For instance, like, we are living at home with parents who are also wounded. They've got their own childhood trauma, and in our lineage there is a thing called intergenerational trauma that has been passed down from generation to generation, and it's just like a repetition of vicious cycle. If you've ever heard about, oh yeah, that's run in our family, this run in our family, be it with the disease, be it with some traits, be it with some traditions or cultures, as it is the value or identity of that lineage, that's trauma. As far as that thing is actually imprisoning people, not liberating people in the lineage, then that's trauma, because it comes out from dogmatic belief, limiting belief that's actually divisive. And it is something that creates lots of anxiety and depression in the next generation after. So, like, when we're talking about depression, lots of us think like, oh, it's just from the society. Yes and no. I mean, when I say yes and no, it's not just only society per se, but it's also what happened in our household, how we, our upbringing, how our childhood, how our parents been raised, how we've been raised. Did we have caretakers that we need when we were a child? And I'm really sorry, there are a lot of us who actually didn't get the parent figure when we were children. And so this is very important also why many of us are stuck in, pills for anxiety, and this kind of thing. The psychology today really still hold lots of judgment in it, and the way we treat depression and anxiety so much with the substance rather than to allow every one of us to connect with what's missing in the dark, and what is the disconnection that we have with ourselves, and it is so sad, and in this phenomena shown to us that how we as a collective, we are handicapped in understanding our emotions, in how self-disconnect we are from ourselves, from our own feelings, from our own emotions. So every time we feel uncomfortable, then they could straight away come up with label, and it's like, okay, this is anxiety, you take this pill, as if like society tells to us that, like there's nothing else that you can do rather than this pill, rather than, we're being taught to how to handle our big emotions. It is something that's very important. Every school, we're supposed to get taught with this concept, how to resolve conflict, how to come up with as an assertive communicator, how to express your feelings and your emotions in an assertive way. This is something that we didn't get at school. We got biology, mathematics, algebra, but everything else that we don't even use it when we grow up, that we don't even, it's not even something in our priority list when we grow up. So what was that? Rather than we were being taught to how to resolve conflicts, how to understanding big emotions, how to express our opinions, our feelings, our thoughts without even hurting others, how to approach situations with understanding and not with judgment, how to approach someone who's actually carrying different thought and perspective with curiosity rather than with blame, with judgment. This is something basic, yet it is so important. Like in human connection, what works is empathy, and we lack of that as a collective. When someone talk, we are so trained to listen to reply, not listen to understand. And so when someone talk, like we feel like we also want to show that our existence is here. That's why many times when what is missing in our society is that we couldn't understand the real message behind someone's words. Because in every word that someone say, in every word that humans express, it's actually a feeling that is unheard, feeling that is waiting to be heard. And what's happened in our human connection is that because we are so disconnected to ourselves, we are so handicapped collectively in understanding our emotions. So this is a mistranslation in the communication. All the traumatized self that we have inside of us in psychology, where we are familiar with inner child, the little part of us inside of us that stored all of the wounds, our unresolved past wounds from the past, from when we're in our childhood, even since before we were born, all the trauma of our mother, when we were in our mother's womb, stored there in our cellular levels. Then when we are like born, and then we are not taught on how to understand our emotion, and each of us grow up, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be appreciated just the way we are. So when we bump into the other human being who's also lost in mistranslation, like not connected with their own self. So this is why we have misunderstanding. Everyone wants to be seen. Nation A to nation B, we have war only to show off that like I'm stronger than you. What is the message behind that actually? Nation A want to be seen, stronger than nation B. It's all about the disconnection. It's about the expression that's looking for existence, looking for a safe space to be appreciated. Either it's nation, because they're entities. Nation is what consists of individuals, an individual who are what carrying a lot of wounds from the past. So this is what is going on even in the collective scale. when we are so self-disconnected, this is what's going on. And it's hinting depression, it's hinting anxiety, it's hinting self-sabotaging, it's hinting self-blaming, it's hinting self-judgment, everything, all the everything in mental illness that you might know. So this is why we are having a society that is actually so unplugged with our own essence. We don't know how to value our life if it's not through materialism. So when we don't have enough in terms of materialism, and we feel left behind, and this even creates more depression and anxiety. There's point A. Point B, when we feel like we are not being wanted, nobody with us, we have failed in our relationship, we feel like, oh, fuck, like love is so bad. Without even we know, that's actually just another part of the day when, if we able to reframe our thinking, we could take like, okay, what could I learn from it? That disconnected we are until every experience that's supposed to help us to get closer to our unresolved past wound, and so like we learn from it so we could overcome with it, we stay in victim mentality. It's like, oh my God, I'm like that my partner is being so bad and they are so ungrateful. Fine, it's painful, but then after that, let go. I mean, like if you already know that person is not, it's not the one who's helping you to tap into your better version, then why you are hanging out even longer in the place where you're not welcome?
Yeah, it's this letting go. So let's hear what happened with you. Why were you depressed? What was your story, and what did you find out? What was holding you in the depression? You shared now, materialistic thinking, as we learned through our culture, through our parents and TV and school and all these things, and the other one, not feeling wanted. So what was the story for you? When did you realize you're depressed, and how did it
I've been depressed as a kid because of childhood trauma that I had. I was emotionally abandoned in my childhood, and I didn't have the concept of depression, but like when I look back, all the symptoms, and especially in my teenage life, all the way to my 20s, and I'm kind of like introvert, but then I found out that I'm actually also social butterfly. But when I was living with my parents, I felt so different than people around me because everyone was like, running with the label of religiosity, like when you're not religious, you're not considered as a good person. And I'm so tired with that. It was also religious trauma that I had to carry, and lots of judgment and direct and indirect judgment from my parents. Like I come from Muslim background, knowing how many people who's covering, for instance, women, they cover their hair or, cover the way their clothes and stuff. And for me to have my own voice and to say that I don't agree with what you do, or I see contradictions in what you do, this kind of thing. It was so, wow, it's like a threat for them. So, and then I've been living in this energy of very contradicting with my own energy, where people are pretending. Actually, that's what I feel. People behind the door, I saw here and there, people are actually, doing things that they don't want people to see. And it's also related with the sixth sense the gift of sixth sense that I had, the extrasensory gift that I had, and then how people in the religious mindset, still think about it, it's something that is actually not that welcome, while behind the door, they're actually adoring it, like admiring that spirituality and stuff. And, this kind of thing. And I didn't get emotional support when I got bullied, for instance, from a big family over the extrasensory gift that I had. I didn't get support. from my mom and my father, like to stand up for me. It was really traumatizing me. So I become more distance and distance and distance with the family. I found out that I slept a lot. It was not normal. I didn't have any excitement for life, to look for any other activities, to look for friends. I was just like serving online. I was just curled up in my own bubble, in my own room. I didn't even go out. I didn't even want to meet people who come to my house. If someone knocked the door, I prefer to not open the door, just because I really don't want to meet people until that bad. So my life was really unhappy, and then I felt like there's no hope for future. There's no spark of light. I didn't have support system. And meanwhile, I feel like I'm myself when I'm with myself. I surf on the internet over things that I truly feel resonate with, and questioning a lot of things about a lot of things that are not welcome in my circle. So yeah, and then I felt like nobody understood me. And then when I joined with big family, I prefer to withdraw myself, because they're carrying with so much different energy. So I felt like an outsider, and I felt like I had no safe space in the world for me. And I didn't have a job back then, so I was just like curled up in my room and stuff. It was in my teenage life until 20 something, and I didn't have a concept of how to be grounding in life. What is grounded life? What is happy life? What is peaceful life? Because my concept of happy is like when I want something and I could buy it. It's very shallow, and I didn't have any better support system that could give me guidance, or help me, support me in my journey of questioning my belief system, questioning my thoughts. I was like really against the current of my big family energy, which is religious energy. I'm not saying that the religion per se is like bad, but more about my focus is like in the specific dogmatic beliefs and all of the energy of the unresolved past wound, the intergenerational trauma that is attached with the dogmatic belief. Like, you cannot question. To be able to consider as a good person, then you have to fulfill A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you're not fulfilling A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you are different than us. This kind of very limiting and divisive belief. And nobody is brave enough to question that and then to speak up, in front of people. And it was me who able to do that. So I was kind of like already cycle breaker before even I knew the concept of cycle breaker. And that created a lot of anxiety and depression, in a sense of that I was so depressed that I felt like my life was a curse. And because of the childhood trauma that I had with my father, I really wanted to kill him. There was one point when I was in university, because I didn't have a supportive father. He's so disconnected with his emotion. He's emotionally unavailable, and he is severely traumatized, my father. So, and then that's why wounded people, hurt people, right?
Yeah,
Someone
yeah,
who's
exactly.
people again. So, but this the concept, the trauma, and trauma is something that I didn't know back then. So I was living in victim mentality, full of anger, and my mother also another byproduct of a conventional family, and so she kind of like saddle person. She didn't have much to say, and she kind of like swallow everything in patience, and the byproduct of conventional household. And so when I experiencing something that is out of her landscape, then she didn't know what to do, right? Rather than to just be there, did her best with her compassion and everything. But there's also a lot of damage that I experienced, even from someone that is so compassionate, which is my mom. And oh God, I feel like I didn't have it was really dark, because I didn't have I don't know where to go in life, and I don't know, is there really a chance that I could really be the version that I've always dreamed of? Because it's against people that I met in reality. I was so depressed. I was married when I was 24 years old. Uh, to be honest with you, I was settled because I want to live my parents' house. I was that depressed, and I compromised, and I didn't even want to get to know more about things from my ex-husband. Like I didn't even know in how to have a standard before begin a marriage, or like before begin a serious relationship. What are the standards that I have to know from a man, or self-assess myself? So I was so depressed, and again, people like, oh yeah, you're already that age, yeah, you're good to go to marry. But nobody come to me and ask me like, how far you know this person, and how do you know this person in handling conflicts? Nobody even asked me that, and I didn't know how this guy would react when there is a conflict. I didn't know how he would react, if there is something that trigger him, or like a sensitive conversation. And so I didn't even know more about uh, his past, and like very detailed thing, his childhood and everything, because I didn't have the concept of that. But well, again, I learned from that. Without that story, I'm not where I am right now. So yeah, that's my story.
Okay, so I can hear, this intergenerational trauma from your father side, with the emotional awareness, and your mom. I think in the first interview we talked about that your mom also has the sixth sense, or the abilities to sense more, but she kind of, as you mentioned here, suppressed it in order to fit into the box she was given in the traditional family setting.
Yeah.
So she suppressed her own personality to fit in, kind of, and you were breaking that pattern. It sounds to me like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And also with your father, with the emotions, so you have like these two traumas which came to you. So what was actually the trigger for you to wake up, to release that depression, this trauma, this low energy? How did you get out of it? What did you do?
The trigger was I was done with my shit. I was done with the shit. That was the trigger, because I was really tired, and I didn't have the knowledge back then about how to break the cycle, and how to overcome how to turn pain into power. I didn't know that. It was as simple as that I'm done with this, and then this is not the place where give me what I want. As simple as I'm being aware, okay, I've been trying in the same place with the same people that I thought, I believe that they're supposed to help me. But look at them. They're a mess. They're a big mess for themselves. And then I realized, like, wow, like I've been surviving in the place where this is the only place that I know, right? Family. And then after that, like I didn't have close friends that really could, back me up, or like people who are very open-minded and, have a second opinions over life or my problem. I didn't have that. I really have to figure it out by myself. And my mom, who's very close with me, she doesn't even have the encouragement to take me to psychologists or psychiatrists when I was already too much with depression and anxiety and anger. I really wanted to kill my father, because all of the damage and pain that I've been experiencing since I was a kid, everything that I've witnessed, everything that I've heard, everything that I've observed, like, wow, like I'm gonna get killed because of this, and then like nobody helped me. And then like, whoa, Maria, like I realized that was a moment. Actually, my big turning point is after my divorce in 2017. And my ex-husband was supposed to be there and protect me, and it's become the person who showed me about what life is, and that was the end of the tunnel. and I lost my kid. I had a miscarriage in that, and I was living in other country, and I had to manage myself to rescue myself to come back to my country because of everything that I've been through. He had a problem in my country, and we were already separate back then. And then after that, he had a problem, and I have to stand. I was like the last hand. It was like as I was the hands of God, or him back then. So like after everything that I've been through, and then I started to compromise and move to his country. And then when there is something happen and he couldn't even stand for the bare minimum, and that was really the end of the tunnel from the universe. I think it's like universe said like, okay, Marya, now it is yours. It's no longer ours. And there was a moment, oh wow, so I've been really living in illusion. I've been really living in so much wounds. Do you think I had an idea about what I had before? No. After I'm deepening about trauma, into deep healing, into deep shadow work, let's say like 4 years, in the recent 4 years that I'm deepening shadow work, I'm into trauma and then I became a trauma informed. Then I'm having a new lens, right? And then after I wear this new lens, like understanding of everything, I started to see around. I was like, what the fuck that you've been through, Marya? Like, what the fuck that you've been dealing with? Like I started to see the mess in 5D with this new lens that I didn't see before. I didn't have the concept before. So then I sit with myself, and then I realized like, okay, then it makes sense why all of the spiral, the perpetuation of vicious cycle in with me and my parents, my mom with my father, like everyone is wounded, and we just don't realize, and we just don't know what to do, how to help ourselves, and where to go. Because as a society, we are handicapped in understanding our emotions. And then I go down, pin down, and it's like, wow, it's as simple yet as profound as understanding emotions. This is the main starting point, in healing ourselves, in providing help for ourselves, understanding our emotions, and then to approach situation, people with understanding, with curiosity, rather than with judgment. So this is a total key. When we are able to embody this mindset, embody this value, it could resolve lots of conflicts in the world. Because we could finally, sit and listen. Okay, what is this person actually means? Understanding the story from the context. Because the story from everyone's context is valid from their own context, from their own perspectives. So what missing is that we translate people's story, people's message with our lens, rather than to sit and ask, what happened to you?
But how can you do that? I mean, what is needed? You are actually able to sit there, listen to a person without judging, without putting your filters on top of what you hear. What is needed?
What's needed is for us to do the self-check-in. When people come up and then start to talk about their problem, we need to ask, do you need second opinion, or you need someone to listen to?
And where do you have to stand as a person? I mean, I think for me, what comes up is like self-acceptance and self-love or self-understanding.
Yeah.
Because if you do not accept yourself and or understand yourself, how will you then be able to be neutral for other people? That's kind of like what came up for me while listening to you.
Yeah. It's about self-connection. It's about, the bottom line, all of the methodologies that we have, ancient methodologies, modern methodologies in psychology, it's actually for self-connection. So it's enough to tell us that how disconnected we are from ourselves, from our emotions, from our sense, from our core, from our own colors. We take another mask, we pretend, to be someone that we are not, to fit in. And this is also what happened in how we translate people message. Most of the time we are here not to understand, we're here to reply. So it's also first thing that we can do. It's, of course, it's something that you have to practice, and how we can practice that before we do it to others is to ourselves, to listen first to how we truly feel from our trigger. What is there that is actually the message, the unheard message that is waiting to be heard from our triggers, the way we got triggered over something. This is why there are therapies, but there are also ways that we can apply it to ourselves in understanding what's the memory that attached with this when I got triggered over this. Who are the people that come across our mind in the past that we could remember in the specific memory? Was that our parent? Was that our caregiver? What did they do? What age you were when you experienced that? Some people got triggered over a specific word, and some people got triggered over some specific noise. Some, like we got triggered over a different kind of thing. What would be beautiful for us to understand? Where does it come from? Otherwise, it's going to hijack every form of relationship that we have with people, because it's just perpetuation of it's just cycle. We are just, okay, I don't like that. Please, if you want to be with me, don't do that. Yeah, okay. But the question that we need to answer is like, why we don't like that? Because if we keep not liking something that we don't even understand the reason, it will be us who are going to be a victim in the end. Actually, that is actually the wounds, because this is the thing. If our unresolved past trauma from our childhood trauma or intergenerational trauma, is not being addressed, is not being healed, it will hijack, it will take the first front row seat in every relationship that we have with people. If we don't address our trauma, if we don't heal our trauma, our business, our relationships, our life will.
Yeah, and that's there's several quotes coming up in my mind. Life is for you, not against you. It's like one, right? The things that you need to work on that will be presented to you over and over in different situations with different tonalities, but it's always the same message. To get to know that one. And the other one just flew away, but so that's definitely one thing, as you say, right? That there was something happening and now you're in a relationship, like, please do not talk like that to me, please do not do that. And that's exactly when, going back to what you said before, if you really want to listen to people, you should not be annoyed by that, right? Because we all have different ways of doing things. And if you're triggered by a certain way, like you were drinking a glass of water, if that would annoy me, what would that help in the discussion we have now, right? Then I cannot be here just because you were holding the fingers in a certain way with having the glass. Some people might get triggered. I've been with a friend who did like that all the time with his hair 3 days ago. And I was like, oh my God, he's nervous. But I somehow managed to just ignore it and continue it. But I can imagine many people get very annoyed by him really over 3 hours continuously touching his hair and moving. So luckily I didn't get triggered, but yeah, life is for you. Life is for you, not against you. And it's hard. It's really hard for me as well. We talked before and I talked with my sister. I'm like, fuck. How do you find these triggers when you realize I'm triggered or I'm getting angry, I'm getting anxious? How can you then counter do you have any tips, any practice, any technique, any mindset?
What I do, what works with me and people that I help, is to learn about take a pause. When you are having this inner turbulences inside of you got triggered or something and you just don't know how to provide help for yourself, just take a pause. If like you have options to do something or not to do something. So when you know that things that you're going to do is something that could harm yourself and others, be it verbally, be it physically, then take a pause, and deal with the emotion when you're taking that pause. Like, deal with that and count and ask yourself, like what I'm going to say, or like, I feel so angry right now. I feel like I want to punch that person, or like I want to say that that person is stupid. Take a pause. And then zoom out yourself. Think that, that is one bubble of like anger, like there is a one person in front of you. Zoom out from that person, and then, you see how that person is, talking, and you pay attention. And, then listen. And then after that, you could ask. Actually, it's about you are witnessing your fear. You are witnessing your emotion. You are witnessing your inner child speaking over there. It's your wounds that is speaking. Because, like, why the heck you have to be triggered over someone who's playing their straw, for instance, when you are like the mall and someone like drinking and they're playing their straw. Oh, when you really talk about it, I mean, when you increase your ability to talk with your inner child, with your fear, and then you realize like, oh, when I was child, I got punched, or I got slapped by my mom when I was playing with a straw, or I was witnessing my cousins to be spanked because they're playing with a straw, or my grandmother said something about it, this kind of thing. This is the memory that is very subtle, that we sometimes we don't realize, but it's like a residual memory, a residual energy that stays in our cellular levels, that makes us feel there is an anger in that. Why? Because back then, when we are doing some specific things and then we got judged, punished, blamed, call names by our caretakers or our parents, there is a uncomfortableness, there is a wound, there's pain inside of us that got repressed and we suppressed. So that stays in our cellular levels, in the chamber that we call inner child. And then it goes all the way until, we go getting bigger and bigger, become an adult, and then it's still there without even we know it has been there. And then it's actually hijacking our relationships and the way we present ourselves. So what we can do, take a pause and then accept that it is hard for you to accept that you cannot accept that. Okay. And then ask yourself why, like, because we have options. If we can hurt someone, we also have options to not hurt that person. So ask first yourself, like, why I have a tendency to, to choose to hurt that person more just because that person's playing the straw. And more about like asking yourself, it's actually in the therapy, it's also in the methodology that I help with people, but something that you can help with yourself, you ask with yourself, it's like, I feel triggered when what? Write, get a book, like a journal, make sure that you're honest with yourself. That's the only terms and condition. You can be very blunt in language, that in word that you use, but like you really have to say it there. I got triggered when I heard A, B, C, D, O, G, because many times our mind, we are very busy. Like every minute we think about a lot of things, and then kind of like forgot about little things that make us angry. But when we write it, and when you are like calm down, and then you have a clear mind, and then when you read again, those writings actually could be your guidance in navigating your unresolved past wounds. From what are the things that triggered me? What are the situations that triggered, make people create another conclusion over me that actually I don't feel that's right, just because of that one particular experience that people had with us when we got triggered. And then that creates another trauma for us. It's just like, oh, fuck, it means like I have to repress it again. You see, this is the tricky part. Like you're not done with that part, the unresolved past wound that triggered you. But then just because you got so much judgment from people by the experience that people had with you, people gonna say that, oh, you are an angry person. Oh, that person is hard to deal with. You better not to deal with that person just because that person got triggered over something stupid. This kind of thing that make you feel like, oh, fuck, it's not safe for me to express what I truly feel, my anger. So then you repress it again, But what happened? It's going to blow at home. It's going to blow in your relationship. It's going to blow when you feel safe, to your children, to your parent, to your partner, to your staff. When you feel like in the hierarchy, you have more power in that, then boom.
Exactly. When you're in your safe space, you explode. That's, I mean, I just triggered something in don't know how many years ago. It's like, why am I reacting like that at home, but I'm not doing it at work? Because at home I'm safe, and at work I feel unsafe. In that situation, I do not remember what happened, but I just remember exactly when you say it's like when you're in this safe space or with your parents, right? And then suddenly now you're grown up and now you feel like you have more power than them. Not everyone. I mean, I've talked to people at 40, 50, they still feel their 80-year-old father is power over them. Right? It's a mental thing, but that's when you then explode, and that's when you give back, and you're like, why again with the people which are close to me, which I like and enjoy and love, am I exploding? And the worst is with kids, right? Your 5-year-old, 3-year-old, you're traumatizing them. But as you say, you have the higher hierarchy. Now, we try to keep it short, so let's see if we can do that. You have so much to share. it's like just flows out of you. I'm like, I haven't even asked questions really, and you just share and share and share. So we talked about, let's also share a bit, what is depression? What are the symptoms and the signs of depression? So for people which listen to it, I know it's a bit long into the episode, but someone who comes and says, I do not know, am I depressed? So what are the signs, symptoms, and how can you tell?
Okay, so depression as per meaning is when you're feeling unhappy and then you lose hope for your future. Because depression and anxiety, I contribute a little bit of it, because depression and anxiety, they're like twins, that always, like sisters or brothers, they always come up like together. Depression is related with our unresolved past traumas, what happened in our past, the residue that is still there in our cellular levels, like the trauma when we were being abandoned, a judge and blame and shame. And anxiety is like our worry about the future or something that is not happened yet. So they're like coming together. So signs of depression is, wow, I'm sure everyone must experience it, when we are losing our excitement to do things that we used to like or we used to be good at, and we don't know why, and all of a sudden like we feel like out of touch. And when we feel guilt, we feel like worthless, and we just don't know why. Depression is also come up, in the difficulty of sleeping, or even you can take a nap for almost a full day. So it's like it could be both, and also could be in the sense of you feeling restless. That's also depression. And in the sense of pain, pain in your body, but it's like I'm not doing anything heavy, but why I feel my body is so uneasy. It's because the trauma that's stored in our body start to raise up, and we just don't know. And all of a sudden we feel like we just want to we don't want to go to the crowd that we used to go. We withdraw ourselves, and curled up in our own zone, in our own bubble, and also we feel like irritated over a lot of things, and we feel empty mood. And some people have more appetite. It's like they eat, that's why they gain weight. And some people like losing their appetite. So the most important is like pay attention with your patterns. Is this something that you experience on your daily basis, or it's something that all of a sudden become external? It's something that makes you uncomfortable in experiencing that. Pay attention in how you feel when you're experiencing that. For instance, okay, one time we feel like we need more nap. Okay, it's fine. But when every time you have free time and the first thing that you want to do is just go home and sleep and curled up and withdraw from the society or from your inner circle, then ask again yourself what happened. So it's about our willingness to be open again, in order to connect with ourselves. Like, it takes willingness for us to be honest, to talk with ourselves, to sit with ourselves. Because when we're feeling depressed, it's in the time of ourselves wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting to be appreciated, wanting to be respected as how we are. Because we feel the world is not safe. That's why, like, we curled up in our bubble. And this is the moment where, um, there's nothing wrong with that. When we feel depressed, always remember it's about our body, it's about ourself, it's wanting to tell unheard message that has been waiting for us to be heard. And so it's a matter of like how patient you are, how willing you are to listen to that unheard message. If you want to know, as simple as you ask yourself, like, oh, I'm feeling anxious when I experience blah, blah, blah. I am feeling uncomfortable. I am feeling unheard. I am feeling hurt when I am experiencing blah, blah, blah. So by verbalizing your inner experience, it's actually helping you to have clarity in what are you processing actually, and where you are stuck, where you are not getting help, where you are not actually providing help for yourself, either you providing help or external help for you. So that's actually the beauty of depression, the wisdom in depression, the wisdom in anxiety. And also you can tell when your room started to get messy, that's also a sign and symptom of depression. Many people think like, oh, creative people or like high IQ people tend to have a messy room. Yeah, okay, but when it's already in the level where they also don't take care of themselves, they don't shower, and the room is very messy, no, you have to over your help. You have to, to be there and then over your hand to that person. Because what we don't know, many people seems like, oh, they're high functioning, like high functioning anxiety, and people who are performers. And but back then, after the performance done, they come back to their place and they use the substance, and their rooms are total messy, and then their lifestyle, their diets are total messy. So it's still anxiety and depression. So pay also attention to those people around you. If you have those people with the signs and symptoms that I've mentioned, if they seems to moving or talking slowly, or if they seems to be indecisive, because behind someone who's indecisive, there's lack of confidence. And behind that lack of confidence is fear of being judged, fear of judgment. So they don't feel like they could people please everyone because of what happened in the past. They got repressed, and so they suppress themselves in what they feel and what they thought is right for them. So that's why, like, they fit in, they indecisive when they make a decision A and then the last minute they cancel. It's anxiety, fear of judgment. Am I going to be accepted? Is it enough for me to be accepted in that circle? This kind of thing. So yeah, oversleeping is also a sign of depression. So pay attention if it's you, people in your circle, or just people you see outside, and over your hand. Because truly, seriously, what we truly miss from one another is like, we're being heard, we're being asked, we're being held by one another, no matter how close or not we know that person. As simple as, how are you, have you eat, and we just talk to people, and could already help them to get through their day. They feel like, oh, actually, I'm not that bad, because we don't know how deep someone depression is, because it's something that we can see easily from the face. Many performers, also experience that.
Yeah, that's
universal. I would like to say, I would like to add a little bit. Depression doesn't have a universal appearance. Some cry very often. Some cannot feel anything. Some, numb themselves. Some struggle to get out of bed. Some don't even, don't even like to be in the bed at all. So, like, we do not judge that.
No, it's just two things came up. One of my friends, it's now 6 weeks since I met him last time, and I really tried to connect with him. And I know he's depressed, and I told him, call me, meet me, even though you feel like you're not good enough. It's not that I'm annoyed with you when you're depressed. It's hurting me more that you're not reaching out. So I cannot be there for you, and because you pull yourself back, right? Pulling yourself in the bed, the safe zone, and not going out, right? It's he, in this case, he feels like he's too much for other people and they don't want to be around. That's also one sign, right? It's like, no, that's not. We want to help. We want to be there to help you to feel good and good about yourself. And not taking care of yourself. That's like, definitely, you're not cleaning the house, you're not taking care of yourself, how you look, how you smell, all these things. Now, you already shared this journaling. I feel triggered when what happens. How else can someone get out of the depression? I mean, one thing is definitely search for help, but there's so many different ways of help. There's body treatment, there's talking treatment, there's natural medicine, right? Plant medicine, to call it as a big thing. What could they do alone besides the journaling? Do you have any other tips and tricks, another call to action? Someone can say, hey, you know what? I'm not taking care of myself anymore. Perhaps I should do something.
Ask yourself, what is one thing that you could change in where you are at right now? Because there is always one thing that you could do if only you feel safe.
Ask yourself, what is one thing I could do if I feel safe?
Yes, and ask that with yourself, and then after that, ask again, what make me not feel safe? And then you will, get the answers. Oh, because of I don't feel supported by my family, by this and that and this and that. And then there's another questions again. Okay, but does this specific action really need support from someone else in order to be happen, or is just need your willingness? Many times what's make us stuck is our own mind, our own negative talk, our own victim mentality. So this is actually what makes our depression even go deeper, And also what we can ask to ourselves is like, what is my strength? What is my strength? Depression is so much into the feeling of unhappy, and don't focus into the feeling that make you even worse. So focus into the opposite, the goal that you want, which is the happy feeling, right? The strength, the power. What is my strength? It's very easy. You can start to in how you good to people. So it's very easy for us. Most of the times it's hard for us to tell about what we're good to ourselves. But when it's about to us from our self to others, it's easier for us. For instance, oh yeah, I can I can sacrifice my food to my friend, my good friend. I can share my food, my friend, from this kind of thing. And then you write down. Journaling is actually holds such a deep power if only you know how to ask the right questions for yourself. The key is in the right questions. That what brings quality in the process of you navigating what needs to be known inside of you, So it's also very important for you to hang with friends and family or people who are inspiring, people who have success story. Right now, we already have internet. It's okay you're alone. It's okay you curled up in your bubble, but there are always people out there that could inspire you. Find those people, for instance, from internet. And there is no any more excuse. There are people who had nothing else left rather than only the clothes that they have, and then they could get back on their knee and they could prove to themselves that they actually deserve the life they deserve. The only thing that hold them from the life they deserve was actually their mind, their victim mentality. They unconsciously surrender themselves, imprison themselves in the thought of byproduct of people with their own wounds. So the thing is that for people who are living in victim mentality, myself is one of them before, is that we are waiting for people validation to tell us that the pain that we are experiencing is actually painful. Are we really need people to tell us that the pain that we are experiencing is painful? We really not just like to, we feel that, but we still need people to tell us that it's painful. Like,
yeah, we are dependent on other people's opinions. That's another thing that just came up to mind. In my case, like, don't ask too much opinions for other people's, decide for yourself. And so for me, it's like my quest at the moment is really to increase my understanding of my inner voice, right? This intuition, however it comes, if it comes in pictures, or in voices. But for me, that was cool. I'm just going through a quest. She says it's kind of like energy. So it's not really a voice. It's not really a picture. It's not really a sign or anything. It's kind of like this energy thing. I'm like, yes, thank you. That's how it felt a few times when I could feel it. And it always feels right and good when it's intuition. If it's your ego talking, it feels heavy and not so good. So you should not do that. How does it feel? Like, it feels heavy. Okay, then it's your ego, which is afraid because of one of these traumas, fears, wounds we talked about in the whole discussion here, right? And then, of course, you can go down like, okay, so why are you afraid? So what is behind that? So is there anything you would like to add to the whole show? Or did we get around it? Is there something on your heart you want to share more?
Well, speaking of depression, the only thing that is more exhausting than being depressed is pretending that we are not.
Okay, yeah. And again, yeah.
So accept. First thing is accept. When we feel not confidence over something, when we feel not having clarity, when we feel, accept, really embrace whatever the situation that we have and stop pretending. This is actually what's add up in our depression. We want to look strong in front of people while we are actually smashed inside. And then rather than to address the wounds and then to do something in the best that we can do, we pretend that we are not, and then we make another drama. I'm not drama. I mean, we make another fake persona in order to repress. The real danger in depression is the repression, the continuation of the pain. That is what we don't realize. So that's why I am strong in saying that the only thing that's more exhausting than being depressed is pretending that we're not. So think that depression here is actually carrying such an honor message that's waiting to be heard by us. So the depression here carries wisdom that's waiting to be heard. So when you feel like you're depressed, great, embrace it. It's actually a wake-up call for you from the universe, that it's time for you to listen to all of the message in your inbox that is, unread, those unread message in your inbox. And no matter how you're gonna do it, it's just, you find ways. And as I told you, right now we have internet, and we have a lot of people who are open to share about their experience or tools, methodologies in internet rather than before. Right now, it's just a matter of you want to help yourself or not. So it's about, you are acknowledging your perfectionism, like, when you want to make fake persona in order to fit in the society, and so that you procrastinate yourself to actually pay attention to what needs to be done. And then after that, because you keep procrastinating, you feel overwhelmed because it's overlapping, and guess what? You become more depressed.
Yeah, you're not authentic, right?
Yes. So this is very important. When you depress, embrace it. Great. What is it? I need to listen from this uneasiness inside of me. because if you're not addressing the pain inside of you, you'll take the first front row seat in any relationship that you have. If you don't address your trauma, if you don't heal your trauma, then your relationship, your business, your life will. Simple as that.
Yeah, and you cannot even help the people around you, even if you want. So when you're depressed and you have kids, husband, wife, best friends, and you want to help them, you're not really able to do that because you're still the victim and anything they do, and yet you want to help, and like, God damn it, I try to help them, they don't listen and they don't do, and blah, 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 because you're judge again and you're still the victim. You haven't raised. But I don't think we ever going to be completely healed from trauma totally, but we can be aware, right? And that's kind of like a waking up, as some people call it. Some call it spiritual awakening. It all depends a little bit on the layers. Some people do not like to hear that, but it's still a waking up to a realization that there is something I have not been able to see before. Like you said, when you suddenly had these new lenses on or glasses, you suddenly looked around like, whoa, my mom is in pain, my father is in pain, my uncle, my grandparents, the government, whatever, they're all in pain, they're all fighting with their own wounds, but you have not been able to see that before. So that's kind of like an awakening. Your consciousness is getting bigger and you're aware of more. And you open up the space, so to speak, to let in more information. I think one of the most important things I learned this week is create the space, the open space, to let the people, experiences, knowledge drop in, however they come, right? Could also be intuition. And that I heard together with Einstein, apparently was asked at the end of his life, where the relativity theory came from. And he said something about listening to one of his classical musics, just be there, enjoying the moment, and just be all happy, right? And grateful. And then it just dropped into his lap. It just dropped into it. He didn't work on it. He created the space of happiness, gratefulness, peace. And and depression, as you said, it sounds to me, it's like a wake-up call. It's kind of a sign you're ready for more. Now, don't beat yourself up for being depressed, which many people probably do, beating themselves up like, I'm depressed, how do I not get that, right? This perfectionism, as you also call, and say, wow, thank you, I'm depressed. What am I doing wrong? I have the wrong job, I have the wrong relationship, I have the wrong parenting style, I have the wrong network, I live in the wrong place, whatever, I have the wrong beliefs about myself. And of course the easy ways are like, okay, I'm a man, but I love to go around and would be in a ballet and do more female things, right? Would love to work with flowers and making female dresses, but I'm the CEO of this car manufacturer, making these super horsepower cars. But actually I would love to be in the garden, just cut flowers, make nice bouquets with pink and rose, and make these dresses for women. And of course you're depressed. I don't know where that came from. It's just like a very extreme thing, but there's a lot of in between and small changes that can help you. So now we made it in an hour. I hope we have everything you wanted to share today, because I'm sure there's more to go deeper, because I really have so many questions I could go deeper, right? How to be certain in life, what is truth, what is waking up really, generational traumas, you tapped into it. Is there also like past life traumas which come on? How do you realize that? And so on and so forth. And what will happen when you solve them for you, when you're a circle breaker? What happens with the generations that came before you, right? So these are more questions, but I think that will be another half hour, 45 minutes if you start to answer those. So it's up to you. We can continue, or we call this an end for today.
I think let's make it wrap it. Let's focus to what we're talking right now. And the last thing that I would like to say is it's very important in the acceptance of our depression. And it's important for us to shift, to learn how to reframe our thinking toward every painful situation that we think is, the death sentence and end of it and stuff. To see the wisdom of it, it requires lots of practice and practice and practice in how we talk to our subconscious, because the worst critic in the world is to ourselves. So take the moment of you sitting with your pain in the face of depression or in the face of anxiety as an attempt for you to get to know more about who you really are. Like, know about your dominant feelings, know about your core wounds, know about your insecurities. This is the beautiful, beautiful moment for you to really get to know more about the blockage, about the blockage that make you believe someone that you're actually not. So embrace depression as a messenger. Embrace pain as a power in a different phase, and it's all about beauty. It's all about love behind of it. After you spend time with it for more, and then you learn so much, you've heard a lot of message that has been waiting to be delivered to you. You'll learn so much about lots of wisdom that you actually have inside of you, and you thought like you don't have that. And that could actually help you to build your own self-trust. And by knowing your needs, then it gives you clarity in how to take care of yourself, because you're no longer interested to repeat the patterns that have hurt you for this long. So depression is actually a wisdom, carries lots of wisdom inside of it. And it's just about getting reunited with ourselves, get connected with ourselves through pain. Because if our lives just happy and glitters and rainbow, then not much that we can grow from it. There are a lot of growth in pain. So every time you're experiencing some uneasiness in life, knowing that it's actually time, a stepping stone for you to get stronger, to get to know yourself more, to get more clarity in your purpose in life, to be more clear in your core values. And so it could help you to set up your priorities in life, be it in your business, be it in your relationship, your whatever relationship that you have, and with yourself, with others, and with life, with divine, with God. And that would help you to feel even more safe in your body, to feel even more safe in your vulnerability. Because right now you embrace vulnerability as a treasure. You no longer seeing vulnerability as a taboo, as a shame, as something that you have to deny, escape from. That it's something that you're going to welcome it with such compassion that, hey, come to me. What's another message that actually I need to listen to you now that would help my growth? So when we could see every pain from the lens of love, then we will win.
Yes. Lens of love, self-acceptance, self-love.
Yeah.
Non-judgment, no self-judgment anymore, no judgment outside. That definitely would be a different world. I mean, looking around. Thank you so much. How can people reach out to you if they want to know more?
Okay, thank you for that. My Instagram is Heal and Rise with Marya. Maybe also you can write it. Yeah. Heal and Rise with Marya. And my Facebook is Marya Umar, Marya space UMAR. But I'm more active on Instagram, so please connect with me over there. And I also routinely post things over there that could inspire you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to connect with you, to listen from your story, to learn from your wisdom. And this is how we show up for ourselves, so then we could have more energy and show up for others, because it's no longer something to please people, but it's about you actually share the love, the compassion that you already have, that you already first gave it to yourself. That's the beauty of it.
Okay, super. So Instagram it is mostly. And that's also how I found you originally, I think. No, I listened to a podcast episode from the Spiritual Shit, and I thought I need to talk to you. So, and I found you then on IG. So now we had 2 talks, and who knows how many talks more we will have.
Yes.
So yeah, listeners, thank you for listening to the show. And if you have any questions, reach out to me or to Marya and Maria, and then we take it perhaps on another show if there's questions we didn't think of. And with that, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.